This is the 12-team playoff bracket. Arizona State is a 4 seed. They're going to play the winner of Clemson, Texas. Kenny, do you think they got it right here with the seedings and the correct teams in? For me, I'm happy the Big 12 gets a bye, and I'm happy that Alabama is not in the field. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it took a lot of guts to leave Alabama out of the bracket here. But I think my response was the committee did the right thing here. I know that this is probably it makes a lot of people upset, um, but they did the right thing. This is the right thing, and I'm happy with the bracket. I think you and I both talked about this. I think Georgia has the easiest path to get to the national championship game by far. Oregon as a number one seed, I think they kind of got shafted in their placements of like the teams 8 and 9. I don't know. I think that's both really good teams that they're gonna have to fight for. But I mean, I think you can't put them where Boise is because I mean maybe you could have, but they just beat Penn State, so it would have been a rematch right off the gun. Given that Penn State would beat SMU. But yeah, no, I'm happy that the Big 12 gets a bye. They deserve it. Arizona State. I hope they do really well against. I'm assuming Texas is gonna make it to the quarterfinals, and yeah, I'm happy to see the Big 12 finally get a little bit of respect. I mean, we've been asking for it for months, for years, honestly, and we finally get just a little bit of respect, and I think it's deserved. We're a really hard conference to play in. A lot of the teams that like the two teams that left the Big 12. I mean, one of them beat Alabama. The other one was playing in the SEC championship game. Like college football, the parity in college football has never been greater. And I think you and I both talked about that, in previous episodes. It's never been more of a chaotic field of college football than it is right now. And you can basically write off all you know, the pre I don't know, the pre-rankings of every season. You just don't know. Like you don't like you want to say like these programs, yes, this program. Georgia Tech almost beat Georgia, you know, and Alabama lost to a really bad OU team. And that like there's all these different circumstances that happen in college football with the transfer portal, the NIL, all these things, are just throwing everything that we once knew about college football and what we've been basically trained to learn over the last like 20, 30 years. Like, this is how we get here. You can just throw all that away because this is what we're getting now. So, and I'm excited, man. I think it's going to take some getting used to. And if Arizona makes it to the semifinals, I'm just going to say this right now. If Arizona makes it to the semifinals, the Big 12 should get at least 2 next season into the playoff. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to get 2 teams if they make it to the semifinals.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of an issue with the 12-team bracket. I mean, I'm happy that a Big 12 team is hosting. I'm happy that Alabama's not in. I think they got about 95 to 98% correct. I just think that if you're going to go with an at-large team, I think they should have done BYU over SMU, considering they beat SMU at SMU this year. They have a better strength of schedule, better strength of record, all of that. But I mean, that's like you said. I think the Big 12 has got to go out and prove it. You beat Texas in the Peach Bowl because I think that's where they're actually going to play. That'd be really good for the conference. Be really good to beat a former Big 12 team. That's who they end up playing. Oregon's going to be in the Rose Bowl, Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. But yeah, I think they did pretty good overall. I'm just really happy that a team that got beat by 3 touchdowns at 6-6 Oklahoma is not in the field. I'm very, very, very happy about that. And honestly, that SMU game, I mean, you watched the very end of it. I was driving home from your Christmas party last night. That was a crazy ending. I'm happy for Clemson to get that win, but man, that was a crazy ending.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that's probably why they can't punish SMU too much, because how are you going to kick a team out that made it, who was undefeated in that conference, go to the conference championship game and lose on a walk-off field goal? You can't punish a team like that. That's brutal. That's brutal. So I think, yes, I hear what you're saying about BYU, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, any time we talk about the Big 12 getting more teams in, I'm all for it. But I also have this thing in my head where it's like, if you lose in your conference championship game, you ought to be able to still be in the bracket if you were already in there, because it's not fair that Notre Dame doesn't have to play a conference championship game and they get to take the week off and they get to stay in the bracket no matter what happens. And that, to me, I think is wrong. But it is what it is. This is the world we live in. Notre Dame just gets, as much as we hate Alabama, Notre Dame gets a lot of love and gets a lot of leeway for being the way they are and how they run things. It's just really, I mean, they lost to Northern Illinois and no one gives a crap because it was so long ago. And like those, and it's like what you're saying about SMU, like, oh, that BYU loss was a long time ago and things are different now. And it's like, man, what are you talking about? Not like one, it's like one can't be like the other, or I can't remember the saying, but either way, I'm happy we're in. I'm glad Arizona State won the way they did. It just showed dominance, and yeah, I'll be rooting for them definitely. It would be really cool to see Texas, who was last year's Big 12 championship team, go against this year's championship team and see how they go against. I mean, I think Texas would be highly favored, but Arizona State, man, they've got a chip on their shoulder, and his name is Cam Skattebo, and they're going to have to deal with that. Texas is going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I actually have a bigger issue with like Penn State, Notre Dame, and Indiana being in than I do SMU, honestly, because Penn State's beaten no one good. They haven't. Indiana hasn't either, and Notre Dame has a couple nice wins. So they'd be like, I'd put them above the other ones. But what I will say about Notre Dame is the fact that they can't ever get a first round bye because they're not in a conference. So if you want to get a first round bye, Notre Dame, join a freaking conference and try to win a conference championship. So I do like that they kind of shut them out like that. But yeah, I do agree that no matter what, they're getting a bye. They don't have to play this week. Well, almost every one of these teams in the 12-team playoff did have to play. So yeah. Yep. Moving on. That's a look at the 12-team CFP bracket. Okay, let's take a look at where all the Big 12 teams are going here, Kenny. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's talked about that. We talked about that at the beginning. The 2 seed Georgia has the easiest path, as opposed to the 1 seed Oregon, which I don't feel like Oregon is probably going to win it all anyways. They give up 37 points at Penn State. I really don't feel like they've looked that dominant this year, even though they're undefeated. So I don't know if you feel the same way or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you talk about Penn State is ranked higher than Ohio State, and Ohio State beat them. So that's interesting. But yeah, they did lose to Michigan. We all know, we get it, but I don't know. The CFP is interesting, and I'm glad I'm not on the committee because they are just, I mean, I'm happy with the decision. I think most people outside of the SEC are happy with the decision. I mean, listen, the SEC, they still got 4 teams in there, right? Big Ten got 4 teams in there.
Big Ten got 4, SEC got 3.
Oh, SEC got 3. And the ACC got 2?
ACC got 2. Big 12 got stuck with 1. Here it is right here.
Yeah.
I'll put the thing away here. Yeah, there are 4 Big Ten teams. You got Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and then, of course, Oregon. SEC has Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. The ACC has Clemson and SMU, and the Big 12 only has Arizona State. And then, of course, you got Boise State, and Notre Dame as well. So
Yeah, and the thing is, like, to kind of defend Indiana a little bit, Indiana does not make their schedule. And you can't just like what do you expect them to do? Like just like all they can do is just go and win the games that was on their schedule, you know? And so like yeah, they lost to Ohio State. That was their only loss all season long. What do you expect them to do? Like they have the games in front of them, and of course, people that have eyeballs are like, "Oh, well, look at all the teams they played. They didn't even really play anybody that was ranked except for Ohio State." And they absolutely got their heads kicked in, and it's like, but you know, it's the Big 10, you know, it's their logo on their jersey, and that's the issue. I think BYU would be better there. I think Colorado would be better there. I think Iowa State. I mean, I think I think Indiana shouldn't have had. I think this is fair. This would be fair. 3 for the Big 10, 3 for the SEC, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12.
I agree. I feel like whoever plays in a conference championship, both teams should get in, and the winner should get the bye.
That's what I think.
And then at larges for everyone else.
And if you want to complain, oh, well, that's messed up for Indiana. It's like, well, the committee has already showed that it doesn't matter if you win all your games, because they proved that last year when Florida State won every single game. And they said, yeah, we're going to put Alabama in there or Georgia, whoever it was.
No, they ended up not getting Georgia or Alabama in there. I forgot who they put in there instead, but it wasn't either of them. Actually, it was Alabama. It was Alabama. It wasn't Georgia. It was not. It was Alabama, not Georgia, because Georgia beat the crap out of them in the Orange Bowl.
Right, because they won the SEC conference game. Now, if Georgia would have won, then Florida State would have been in no matter what, because it would have been Michigan, Georgia, Florida State, and whoever that fourth team was. I can't even remember. Oh, was it Texas?
Well, Texas and Washington got in.
Oh, Michigan, Washington. Yeah.
Texas, Washington, Michigan, and
Georgia.
Alabama.
It was Alabama instead. Which, yeah, that's the whole argument. They're like, well, you can't take out the SEC champ.
Yeah, that was ridiculous how they said they couldn't get in because their quarterback got hurt.
It was brutal.
Even though they still won their conference. So
yeah, somebody said that if they wouldn't have said that he was out for the rest of the season, if they would have just said he's injured, we don't know, if they would have just kind of kept it up for like maybe here or there, then maybe the committee would have been like, oh, well, he's out, so like they're not going to be good, so let's not put him in.